Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli with my dad, aka LeBlue, and that's right, yes, and he is joining me reviewing the next Marvel film and in the MCU, and which actually, this film is in your top 5 favorite films in the MCU.
It actually is, yes.
Yes, that's right, guys. We are finally reviewing Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. So, what do we first have to say about this film?
Well, the first thing I have to say about the film is the martial arts is fantastic.
It is.
I love martial arts movies, ones that, that really, the old Bruce Lee movies, those type of films. And Simu Lee, if I'm saying his name right.
I think just about right, yeah.
He's does a very good job with the lead character of Shang-Chi. And it occurred to me just how much choreography there are in these type of movies, these type of martial arts movies, that they're just the work that goes into them to get them choreographed and to get them to come out just right. Jackie Chan movies, for instance, Jackie Chan's broken a lot of bones in his movies.
I know.
Because he does all of his own stunts.
Yep. And Bruce Lee did his own stunts as well.
Right, and I'm not sure how much Simu Lee does his. Yep. And if I'm butchering his name, I apologize. But he does a very good job, as do the other, actors in the film.
Yep.
And I'm not even going to get into pronunciations because there's some funky pronunciations.
And yet I've gone on saying how me and you how we have trouble pronouncing names and words. So
I think the big surprise for me in this movie was the reappearance of Ben Kingsley's character,
Trevor
Slattery,
who we first saw in Iron Man 3.
We thought was the Mandarin, in
the main
Iron
villain.
Man 3, the main villain, but he wasn't. He was a paid actor.
Yeah, and his personality, he's just a nice guy, and
in this movie, yeah, he's just a nice guy, and that was his personality in Iron Man 3. Because you're like, it's almost anticlimactic when you find out that he's just an actor. It's like, oh man, he looked cool, he looked the part, but it really wasn't him at all.
No,
it was kind of a bait and switch. I think the bad guy was,
and the fact that he still got arrested.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, it's a shame because he had no idea what he was doing. He thought he was just acting in something. But yet he still went to jail. But he eventually got out, and and I do like this because as of now, because you never know who's going to appear in an MCU film.
Oh, you never do.
And for that matter, the Marvel shows on Disney Plus. They're there and just hey, it's good to see them. So
yeah,
stuff rather if they're there for a supporting role or if they're for a cameo, you never know which. So,
exactly.
But the story itself, what about the story? Because
it's he's kind of haunted by his past. The 10 rings.
We get a lot of flashbacks for one thing.
We do. We get a lot of flashbacks. But if the flashbacks are done right, they tell a good story because they build on the story, the overall storyline of the movie.
And so it depends, how it's done. And Shang-Chi's father, because for I think 3,000 years or so, and just being greedy and rich, and he wanted more. Mm-hmm. And when he met the woman he would fall in love with, and thus, they would become the parents of Shang-Chi and Shang-Chi's sister. So, at one point we find out that Shang-Chi's mother was lost, and he now works at a hotel and parking cars. And along with his friend Katie, played by Awkwafina, and Awkwafina was good in this, and you kind of complained about her name or something.
When I heard of her name, I'm like, Awkwafina, that's bottled water. That's like PepsiCo, bottled water.
But that name is for the waters pronounced differently, spelled differently. That is.
I know, but it's a play on words. I'm pretty sure that's her stage name, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm. But her character Katie was good.
Yeah, it was very good.
Yeah,
they played off. There was chemistry between the two. They played off each other very well.
Absolutely, and especially we get a lot of great action stuff going on in this.
My gosh,
the bus chase sequence, like the fight going on in the bus.
The fight going on the bus is the one I loved. It was amazing. And the thing of it is, the special effects in this movie are extraordinary. They really are.
They are.
It shocked me how well done it was in terms of the special effects. And
from what I heard, like Digital Domain did the effects for this film.
Oh, they did a good job.
You know, because like they're like another studio that's doing like the same thing like ILM does with the visual effects. You know.
Mm-hmm.
And but yeah, they did the visual effects for this, and also Shang-Chi and his sister, they're wearing like necklaces, you know.
Right.
I forget the name of them, but you know, their father is going after them. He's going after the necklaces, but there's more that their father is doing, because I think supposedly he thinks that their mother is still alive and is trying to reach to her and trying to get to where, you know, he thinks that her people in the village that she grew up in are holding her hostage or something. Also, like when they at one point, because even Shang-Chi, he received a message from his sister. I think Ilani, if I'm saying that right, if the X is silent. So what do you think? Like that right there. So as always, we've got the tablet with us.
Yeah, I think it's Yeling.
Yeling, yeah, and played by Mengri Zhan, if I'm saying the full name.
Mengri Zhan.
Yeah, and actually, this is like her first. This is her first acting debut.
Yeah,
her first movie ever. So, not to mention that she's actually married to somebody who has worked on this film. I think the production designer or something like that. I don't know.
Right,
but. And basically, like, they go and find his sister at, where is it exactly? And I don't want to say, like, maybe in San Francisco, but probably someplace in, I want to say China or something like that.
Yeah, I
think
so.
And, like, a big, like, they go to this, fighting place, you know? Mm-hmm. And there's one moment, and in fact, this was in the trailers, we get the appearance of Wong and Abomination.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Wong, once again, being played by, where was it? Yeah, Benedict Wong. And Tim Roth, apparently, because, Tim Roth, he reprised his role as Abomination, which, in fact, later on, because that ties in directly, with them being there and entering that championship, that contest, that battling championship, that ties directly and is connected to what we would see in She-Hulk.
Yes, exactly right.
Yeah,
which is another reason I absolutely love the Marvel universe, because the Marvel movies,
because everything is connected.
Everything dovetails perfectly, and it tells a complete story. And the storyline, there's no contradiction in the storyline. Even you have to look at the Star Wars movies. There's a lot of contradiction in Star Wars.
Exactly.
And George Lucas did a fantastic job tying it all together. And then on the back end, J.J. Abrams did, the last 3 episodes.
And how Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, and everybody else.
Exactly. In the Star Wars series that we're seeing on Disney Plus now.
Yep.
But where the Marvel Universe, it's like they sit down
how they're doing it.
They mapped out everything. Absolutely everything. And they have a reference guide. They go back. They know how not to contradict other storylines.
They have to go back and look and see.
Exactly.
It's just and ever since, when the first Iron Man film started.
Right.
And just take for example Doctor Who. They always have to check and see and go back and look at, the past of Doctor Who, stuff like that. Yeah. So it's amazing. And it's very important. These things have to be done and be done very carefully.
Where Marvel is concerned, I'd have to give you've got to give a lot of props to Kevin Feige because he is he's over Marvel. He's the head of Marvel,
the president of Marvel Studios.
So everything has to be done according to the way the storylines go,
right, and
stay within bounds,
right, right.
So this is why it's such a wonderful movie, because of the tie-in,
exactly,
with everything.
Yeah, exactly, and more on the flashbacks, because when Shang-Chi reunites with his sister, because it doesn't go well at first, because he's entered in the tournament and fighting against his sister.
Yeah,
and apparently because Well, the thing is that, well, Shang-Chi, he ran. He left his family, you know, and, you know, he even told his sister, like, that he would return in 3 days, but he never did.
No.
And that really hit on his sister very hard, and, like, you know, 3 days passed, a month, and so on, and she's started that business of the fighting championship and so on. And that's when, like, the main villain, I mean, I don't know, because, like, Shang-Chi's father, he's not, like, really, he's kind of, see, I'm trying to figure it out, because he's mixed, like, in between of being a villain and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. How do you even pronounce the villain's name? Like, yeah, Tony Leon Chiu.
Tony Leung Chiu.
He plays Q Wenu. Or...
No, Zhu. It would be Zhu. The X would be pronounced as a Z, so it would be Zhu Wenwu.
Wenwu. Okay, that should be easy to remember. Like Wenwu. So. Wenwu, because you know he has sent his goons to go after them, and even like yet another cool action sequence, like outside of the building, you know, like the construction parts. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
The metal bars. So
right. The steel girders.
Yeah, exactly. And even like Katie just holding on for her life when one breaks off. And then, you know, Shang-Chi's sister does help out, and, well, that's when enter Wenwu, because he meets his son for the first time after many years, since he ran away, and going to where his headquarters are, and, you know, when they refuse to help him, you know, to attack their mother's village, and by the way, because I think, yeah, the mother, Lee, played by Fala Chen, yeah, so they refuse, and thus they're thrown into the brig, and we of course see Trevor, and there's also like this like furry creature with wings who doesn't have a face, you know, like Trevor's like little pet, I guess you could say. He's grown attached to it.
Yeah, there's some interesting creatures in it.
Well, yeah, of course, even in something in Marvel. So
yeah, exactly right.
And this was pretty funny because, well, they do escape, of course, and they actually steal one of the goons' cars. Like, that one guy who doesn't have a hand, you know? Yeah, they stole his car. They do escape, and when they come to where the entrance is to the village, there's one moment where Trevor is talking about what inspired him to become an actor. And basically, he saw the original Planet of the Apes film in 1968. Thinking that, like, he thought the apes were real, and they were riding horses. Do you remember? Did you almost forgot about that?
I did, but it's funny because
he thought they were reals, and that's what inspired him to become an actor.
Even when I saw them as a kid, I knew they weren't real. I knew that, but I thought, man, that's like looks really real.
And the makeup, like, because they're actually there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Like the makeup back then for the ape characters, just amazing. I think still to this day, don't you think?
Oh yeah, and I got to go off. I've got to go down a rabbit hole on this one. The ending of the original Planet of the Apes is to me still the greatest twist ending of any movie that has ever been made.
Right.
Absolutely best. By full stop. It's the best. I mean, you just don't get any better than that kind of an ending.
I know.
Because you don't really see what's happening until it's like. Even from the angle that they're shooting it with Charlton Heston getting off, you know, stopping on the horse, and then he gets off the horse and you see him, you know, you're like, what is his problem? You know, he's just, you blew it up, you know, and then they show it. And then you're like, oh my gosh, he is on Earth. You know, it's just fantastic.
Yeah.
Anyway,
we go from Shang-Chi to Planet of the Apes.
Sorry about that. I just had to mention that. It's honorable mention.
Yeah, true. So, and you know, even if they would have mentioned it in Shang-Chi. But by the way, because, you know, that just got me thinking, there have been some really good twists in MCU films.
There have been.
So there have been, and hey, because everybody loves a good, you know, twist ending to a movie, and that's just so mind-blowing.
Well, go back to Infinity War, the end of Infinity War, when everybody started, you know, when the blip happened.
And you just
and everybody
wonder,
starts...
And you wonder what Thanos wants to do with all the stones. Well, I mean, he does explain it.
But it's just like, you're at the end of that movie.
The snap of his fingers and they all cease to exist. But how?
But still, at the end, when half of all existence is wiped out, you're just like,
and
the movie ends and you're like...
How much is left?
Yeah, and you're just like, oh my gosh.
And they ended it right there. They did it. Like...
It's just like...
And we had to wait another year for the next film to pick up.
How much darker could it get? Exactly.
And hey, it did get more darker. Like, say, hey, we fast forward to 5 years later. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was. It was totally crazy.
Yeah. So back to Shang-Chi, because, like, they do make their way in, like, a moment where they have to, like, the furry creature... I wish I could remember the little furry creature's name with no face, but... Basically, like, guiding them on which way to go, basically.
Exactly.
Like, guiding, like, through the bushes and so on. And then we see Shang and his sister's aunt, which being Yang Nan, played by Michelle Yeoh.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to see her in something MCU.
Yeah, I like her as an actress. She's really good.
She's done a lot.
She has done a lot.
Even currently. Mm-hmm. So, and not to mention, because, well... Her and another actress who's in this, Stephanie Hsu, am I saying that right?
I would say Stephanie Hsu.
Stephanie Hsu.
H is silent.
Yeah, Stephanie Hsu, who plays Sue in this. Like, both her and Michelle Yeoh, they're in Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah.
Yeah, and two Everything Everywhere All at Once co-stars are in this film. So, in fact, actually, because remember, like, you may remember this, like, in the beginning of the film, because Shang and Katie, they're talking to, like, a couple of friends of theirs, about what they've been doing, and we would see them again at the end of the film, and Shang and Katie would talk about their experience of what happened.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't
John also, like Sue's husband, I think.
Yeah, didn't and I think I'm pronouncing it Sai Chen.
Yeah, I think so.
Played Wapu. That did she not play in an episode of Sherlock that I recall?
Oh, I don't know.
She looks familiar. I'm looking at her profile picture here. She looks very familiar. That she may have played. In an episode of Sherlock that I've watched. It's from the BBC.
I don't know.
But anyway.
So basically, yeah, because when they come in and even like Yang Nong like tells them and guides them through this, like, the backstory of these creatures, like the coming in at one point, coming into Earth and attacking and sending in their best soldiers to take the creatures on, but don't really succeed and so on. And what Shang and his sister's father wants to do, because again, trying to, he's wrong. Like, he's just blind by what, like, these, like, demon creature, like, told him, I guess. And like that his wife and the mother to Shang and his sister, like, being held, captive and so on. But there's something in there that is being held, but it's not Li, the mother of Shang-Chi.
Right.
And that's another thing, because, Wenwu being blinded by evilness and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's basically what's with him. And not to mention, because, yeah, Wenwu, he has the 10 rings. He's been holding on to those for years. And like, say, some, like, moments where Shang and his sister, even Katie, joining in, like, being trained for the big battle that's going to happen. Like, Katie, like, her, like, being trained to, like, use bow and arrows. And we get more flashbacks, because, well, the people that Wenwu attacked and so on, they come for revenge. And Li tried to defend and take on them, but she got killed, sadly. Yeah. And that's when Wu, he confronts him. He takes Shang, who's just a little boy, and to witness and see what his father does. Like, dude, you take your kid to murder somebody? Like, who does that? But I guess, like, probably just to show him that on what to do and to train him, to avenge his mother's death. So, stuff like that. And when it comes up to, when I think he's about 13 years old, like, he's a teenager at this point, and his father sends him to confront the man who killed his wife and his son's mother. And that's when, he didn't return for that. I don't think, maybe he did kill him. I don't know. Maybe he killed the man who killed his mother. But if so, then, well, he didn't return after that. And that's where, there's that. And when the big battle takes place the next day, some really cool fighting going on, don't you think?
Oh, yeah, I agree.
And not to mention when Wu goes to, like, break down, because he's hearing the love of his life's voice in there, free me, stuff like that. And of course, that's just a hallucination. That's just a trick,
Right.
It's one of those. And trying to like crush and so on. But with that happening, he doesn't even notice this. He doesn't even look up and notices this. Like, tiny little flying creatures coming out, and basically they can suck people's souls out.
Right.
And it feeds on this this big creature, the Mega. Geez, I forget the name of it, but the first name is Mega. So it's a much worse giant creature, and even say when Shang-Chi confronts his father, and even at one point he actually gets a couple of the rings, but not all of them. And Shang-Chi, of course, he can't kill his father, but he's just trying to get him to knock it off and to wake up and to realize, like, he is wrong. Like, that's not Shang's mother / his father's wife that's being held in there. Something else much worse. And again, it's tricking Wenwu.
Yep.
So, but that's when the creature is unleashed. And, this is when Wenwu is redeemed. He sacrifices himself to save his son by giving him all the 10 rings. And wasn't there something you were going to mention?
No, I was just listening to what you were saying. I was reliving some of this. Remember, it's been a while since I've seen this movie, but it's a lot of this is I'm kind of reliving it as it's refreshing my memory.
We always try our best. I'd like to point this out. Not just me, but whenever I have someone with me, like if it's my dad, we always try our best when it comes to reviewing these films, and just so much to these movies, especially Shang-Chi.
There is, and the one thing I do remember that I can recall was the emotion of watching this movie. Just how I was just so taken by the storyline, the special effects,
like every Marvel movie,
of course, like every Marvel movie. But it's. Do you remember the end scene
of Shang-Chi?
Yes.
Well, until we get to that, because here's another thing: Wenwu's goons actually join the villagers,
right?
And they of course do take them on, and Shang-Chi and his sister taking on the big beast. And well, at one point, Wenwu earlier, he actually took out his son, and he was Shang-Chi was drowning.
Right.
But we get another flashback because there was one moment right before Li took on the bat on those who came to seek revenge on Wenwu. Shang-Chi's mother, Li, told him a couple of words don't be afraid.
Right.
And thus, he wakes up, and, a dragon, I want to say, a mystic dragon, is coming out of is arising from underwater and helps out Shang-Chi.
Right.
And taking on the giant mega creature, and that's when a good part on Katie, striking the arrow at the creature's throat.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like those moments for some of those characters. They get a heroic moment and taking on a bad guy.
I agree.
And of course, to speed things up, all ends well. The mega creature's defeated. All evil is done for, and Shang and Katie, they became heroes. And when they tell the story to Sue and her husband, and them going on saying, "You expect us to believe?" And is this payback for what we said?
Exactly.
But it's they should be aware of what's been going on Earth, and how could they not believe something like this?
But then they're vindicated in the end scene.
Yeah.
You tell that.
Wong shows up and recruits Shang and Katie. Basically, their presence are required.
Exactly.
By the Avengers.
Right. So the friends are just they're they are telling the truth.
And everybody else, how they're reacting, have they not seen this before? Again, so much has happened on Earth.
I know, exactly. Wong is one of my favorite characters of all time.
And as of now, he seems to be appearing a lot.
Yeah, he's a fan favorite. That's why he appears a lot.
He is a fan favorite. And I think the same goes for Doctor Strange. He, for a while, has appeared in a lot. So, so again, yeah, Wong recruiting Shang and Katie, and the 2 end credit scenes we get. What do we have to say about on those?
Go right ahead.
Okay, well, because for one thing, the first end credit scene, like am I correct on saying it's the mid credits?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, mid credits scene where we get the appearance of Carol Danvers and Bruce Banner. They discover and learn more about the Ten Rings and, how long Shang's father had held on to those, and the Ten Rings' usefulness, like, even before when Wu got a hold of them.
Mm-hmm.
Just something to them. And, which, obviously, what will happen next for the characters of Shang-Chi and its sequel, and especially because, at one point, because Carol Danvers, she's called in for a mission, and, she tells them that, Bruce has her phone number, and Banner's, saying, I don't have her phone number, she does this, knowing Carol, and Banner, he has to get off the line, too, and basically, I think from Banner and Wong telling Shang and Katie that, there's more that they have to be prepared for, being a part of this. Right. And it's true, because of what they are going to expect later on, and being a part, and for Shang and Katie to be, basically becoming Avengers. And then, another funny moment, okay, Wong telling them, you go home and get rest, and then, Wong mentioned, no, not Wong, Shang mentioned something that, and even Katie knows where this is going. The 3 of them, Wong tagging along, they do karaoke.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I remember that.
Yeah, that was funny. And then the last end credit scene, Shang's sister. Again, how do you pronounce her name? Salani, is that right? Zalani, because the X is supposed to be a Z. You just passed. No, it's right there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right there. So Zalani, I think.
Mangarzan.
Yeah, who plays Zalani. I think as of now, she's running her father's business. And, in a good way, of course, and, those, being in training and, martial arts skills and stuff like that. So that's the end credit scene right there of what Zalani is doing now. And again, as I said, running her father's business. Oh, that was the name of the creature. Morris. Right. The creature with no face, voiced by D. Bradley Baker.
Right,
so
right.
Now I remember. I knew that name was right at the tip of my tongue. So, and that starts with an M.
Yes.
So, and by the way, more on Trevor, because more funny moments with him, because, he doesn't do that much at the village and being a part of the battle.
No.
But there is one moment where Morris thinks that Trevor's dead. And he's he's
funny.
on the floor, he's no, I'm acting, and, play dead, and Morris plays dead too. So that was funny.
It's very funny.
So...
It was a good movie.
Yeah. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, what an excellent Marvel film this was. An MCU film, for that matter.
Yeah. And my typical... What do I typically do? Do I do one to 5, or do I do 8 to 10? 1 to 10.
You do 1 to 5. 5 stars. I do 10 out of 10 stars, but
Yeah, I give it 5 stars.
5 stars.
I give it 5 stars.
I give it, for me, since I do 10 out of 10 stars. I give it 10 out of 10 stars.
Yeah, it was a really good. It's one of my favorite.
I know, and it was the next great MCU film, after say one of the last great ones, Avengers Endgame.
Yeah, I want to go back and watch it now again. maybe tonight, or when I'm on the plane. I don't know.
Yeah, because
got a long flight. If I can find it, I'll watch it.
As of this recording, because you'll be watching it, I guess, sometime, and you'll be leaving soon for out of town. So
leaving soon. Leaving Friday, in fact.
Yeah,
heading out of the country for 2 weeks.
Yep, to Italy.
Yeah.
Italy. So why not mention that? And besides, I thought this was fitting enough for, for a while, to put it this, I thought this was fitting for, for my dad to join me reviewing Shang-Chi, because you know what? I think, this helped, this helped for you being here and, talking about and reviewing Shang-Chi and what you had to say about it. And again, not to mention, it's in your top favorite MCU films.
Yeah, it's one of my top favorites.
Another good reason why you're here and joining me reviewing this film.
Yeah.
So there you go. So and I forget where is it in your top 5 favorite MCU films?
It's up there. Probably I'd say it's in the top 3. My favorite of all time is Captain America: First Avenger. Second favorite is Iron Man 2. So this probably really ties with Black Panther.
I was going to mention Black Panther.
Yeah, it probably ties with Black Panther.
So it's a tie between Black Panther and
Shang-Chi
in number 3.
Number 3.
Yeah, because number 2, Iron Man 2, and number 1, Captain America: First Avenger.
Exactly.
Yeah, because Captain America First Avenger, as it's been established before, like, it is your all-time, and still is your all-time favorite MCU film.
It is.
Yeah. So once again, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Again, you give it 5 stars, I give it 10 out of 10. And what about you guys? What did you think of this film itself, and what did you think of me and my dad's review? You know, hey, we did our very best, as I said.
We did our best. It's been a while since I've seen it, but a lot of things you were saying, yeah, I remember that. But I remember the overall emotion it had, the emotional impact it had on me when I watched it,
and things that and stuff that I brought up that you started to remember.
Exactly.
So there you go. So I think we did pretty well.
We did.
So yeah, with all that being said, guys, we hope you've enjoyed our review of Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Any last words?
I must be off.
He says that for me. Again, hope you've enjoyed. More review videos are on the way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward. And we'll see you guys in the next video / review. Take care. Peace out. And Avengers, assemble.